Ahoy, Terrans, Avi here. I'd like to thank you for joining us here at WCV, that's West Coast Vexillology. So let's get right into it. There's these things, you might have heard of them, they're called flags, and I've been rather interested in them lately. Okay, before we start, there's three things you should know. Number one, for our use, we will define flags as, quote, a piece of cloth or similar, typically oblong or square, attachable by one edge to a pole or rope, and used as a symbol or emblem of a country or institution, or as a decoration used during public festivities. It's not a perfect definition, but it'll work. Number two, the title of this video is West Coast Vexillology, or WCV. I imagine you folks know what West Coast means, but for those of you who don't know what vexillology means, we'll define it for this video as, quote, the study of flags, from the Latin vexillum, meaning, quote, flag or banner. Number three, there are generally considered to be 5 rules for designing good flags, and really designing good many things. Here's what they are. Number one, keep it simple. The flag should be so simple that a child can draw it from memory. Number two, use meaningful symbolism. The flag's images, colors, and patterns should relate to what it symbolizes. Number three, use 2 or 3 basic colors. Limit the number of colors on the flag to 3 which contrast well, and come from the standard color set. Number 4, no lettering or seals. Never use writing of any kind or an organization's seal. Number 5, be distinctive or be related. Avoid duplicating other flags, but use similarities to show connections. Oh, and I talk fast, sorry about that. Now with that out of the way, we can get to the West Coast bit. I happen to be taking a trip along the West Coast, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to talk about California and Oregon's unfortunate vexillological deficit and proposed paths to correct this error. Our first stop on this vexillological journey is Eugene, Oregon. Known for the fact that several locations within the city are believed to be the inspirations for locations in the Simpsons TV show, for being referred to as the Emerald City and Tracktown, USA, but curiously never Tracktown City or the Emerald, USA. And finally, for having no flag. Wait a minute, if there's no flag here, then what are we doing? You might be asking yourself. But they do have a, just a sec, city logo. Anyway, the Eugene, Oregon city logo, which has been recently remodeled, is thus. Okay, well, let's see the original. Oh. Well, what does it mean? What's the symbolism here? Well, it says that the word Eugene stands for the word Eugene, and the rest of it seems to just be a city in a relatively similar geographic location, I guess. I'm not sure, I wasn't able to find a formal definition of the symbolism here, but yeah, in regards to the creation of the logo, I was able to find this quote. The primary work of developing the new logo was done in-house, and it was vetted by an outside consultant for $5,000 to $7,000, Dillon said. Say what you want about this logo, but it's by definition a $7,000 idea. Moving on, through more research, you can find that the city actually did used to have a flag. And get this, it was literally just the now obsolete logo on a white background. Here's my rendition of said flag. The most unfortunate part to me, because I do genuinely believe this could be made into a fine logo, is that on top of the other factors we mentioned, the designer really didn't heed rule number 1, as mentioned earlier, of not putting the city name on the logo, or any lettering for that matter. This rule is stated because if you do put the lettering on, then it doesn't really work as a symbol. Think about it. The only reason you'd put a name on a symbol is that it doesn't quite convey what you wanted it to unambiguously. As one person we interviewed put it, quote, "It's just a hill, but with that I must correct the interviewee, for the new logo has 3 hills." Anyway, with all that aside, here are some other Eugene-related images I was able to find that I think personally might be better. Here's the images related to the logo and flag. Number 1. The green represents Eugene as, quote, the Emerald City, and the 3 stars represent that Eugene is the 3rd most populous city in Oregon. Number 2, the 2 green triangles represent both sides of the Willamette Valley. The gold represents the prosperity of Eugene. The white represents all the possibilities of the future. The tree is a Douglas fir representing the outdoors and the forests of Eugene. Finally, number 3. I think even this is maybe a slightly better logo, even though it still has the word Eugene and thus violates rule number 4. And is a little bit cluttered and could be more simplistic by rule number 1. The color scheme and general idea are quite nice. Well, I guess looking at those redesigns made me feel a little bit better. Anyway, on to our next stop. Mount Shasta, California. Known for Mount Shasta, the 5th highest mountain in the state, the chief's official soils being Quaternary alluvium, its 3 ghost towns, and of course because it contains the highest point in Siskiyou County. Now, Mount Shasta has a logo, but before you leave grumbling to yourself about logos not being flags, the county that I mentioned before, Siskiyou County, has a flag, the first official flag of the series. Let's put it up on the screen. That tightened me. Well, let's get right into it. First of all, it doesn't really follow rule number 1. Quote, keep it simple, so simple a child can draw it. How many 4-year-olds do you know that could draw a donkey and a settler inside a little circle? I also think it could do better with rule number 4, quote, no lettering or seals, which unfortunately is not followed, and all for only the information Siskiyou County, 1852, California, which quite frankly sounds like a gamer name. And additionally, it doesn't really meet the expectations of rule number 5. It is related, but not distinctive. If you look, you'll see that state flags are all about their seals, crests, and logos, or as I like to call them, the SCLs. Overall, the flag's not bad, but I think it could be better than it is. I think they could make a really nice flag. Personally, I think it could be really great if they got rid of the seal and just put the pickaxe and shovel on the background. Maybe even better, use the existing Native American symbol and flag of the yellow circle with 2 X's on it, which has represented the feeling of being double-crossed by the 2 state governments, and notably is used on the State of Jefferson U.S. state flag, which I think, along with other elements, would make a really symbolically powerful flag. A description of the current flag is as follows. Quote, the flag of the Siskiyou County consists of a yellowish gold and medium blue background, with the seal centered and a gray shovel and gray pickaxe behind the shield. And I might guess that the shovel and pickaxe have something to do with the history of mining in California, but again, I was not able to find a clear explanation of the flag's symbolism. So perhaps someone who knows could write one. Please do share it with me if any of the viewers of this video are able to find an article or a history on the symbolism of the flag. I would like to take a second to talk about some of the other notable symbols of the region. The Mount Shasta crest. It's a pretty nice symbol, but I think it would be nicer if it didn't have the lettering per rule number 4. Rule number 4 is a big one that especially the US has some trouble with. But I think you would agree that just from looking at it, it has some pretty great elements. And last, I would like to show this unofficial Mount Shasta flag. Because remember, it's the county that has the flag, and the city of Mount Shasta does not have an official flag. I like the drawing of the mountain, but besides that, it's kind of a conglomeration of a bunch of different ideas, which can leave you kind of confused. It also has lettering, which is, as we know, not ideal, but again, elements of a good flag. Finally, I'd like to show you some related images that I was able to find that I think could possibly be used as redesigns for the county flag. I found some for the State of Jefferson U.S. flag, and some flags for Mount Shasta. Number 1, quote, based off the Jefferson coat of arms, the blue is for the coast and the green is for the natural beauty of the area. Number 2, I like the idea of maybe a much more simplistic version of this, but with the same kind of colors. With those changes, I think it could be a very nice flag. Finally, number 3, I really do like the idea of something with the same background as the normal flag, but maybe something like this, with the mountains more prominent. I'm genuinely excited for one of these new designs to be adapted. At least I hope they change their flag to something that more prominently features the mountain. Anyway, with that said, I bring you to the next chapter in our vexillological adventure. San Francisco. Known for the Golden Gate Bridge, being an essential member of the pentagonal co-conglomerate of the San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward, California Metropolitan Statistical Area, or SFOCMSA, and for reportedly being the city which invented the popsicle. It is also famously known in the vexillological and even non-vexillological worlds for an impressively disappointing flag, but many have talked about that before. Today, we're looking at something slightly different. You see, though San Francisco's flag has gotten much attention, although for its infamy, the same cannot be said for San Francisco's unofficial sister city, South San Francisco, which has its own city flag. Quite nicely providing our topic for today. Yes, today, the flag of South San Francisco City. I'm just pleased as punch to show you that the South San Francisco flag is this. It's pretty good out of those we've seen so far. The flag mainly struggles with rules number 1 and 4, in that it isn't what I would describe necessarily as simple. More on that later. And unfortunately does have the lettering City of South San Francisco. Quite unnecessarily so, in my opinion. On the other hand, it does well with rules number 2, 3, and 5. For number 2, I would describe the flag as definitely meaningful, with the helix, I would assume, representing the city's historical relation to biotech. For number 3, it does okay with its main colors being blue, beige, and purple, but I do think it could be chromatically simplified. As for rule number 5, it's definitely distinct and related, with the formerly mentioned helix being a universal symbol for genetics and, to my knowledge, unique as a symbol depicted on flags. A description of the flag is as follows. Quote, the flag's background is navy blue. In the middle is a helix with South San Francisco written above the helix. For the city is known as the birthplace of biotechnology. Personally, as a side tangent, I felt compelled to look into the reasoning for the claim that, quote, the city is known as the birthplace of biotechnology. My findings are thus. According to Wikipedia, quote, the biotechnology giant Genentech, which totally sounds like the name of the evil corporation in Jurassic Park for obvious reasons, opened in 1976, leading to South San Francisco's new identity as, quote, the birthplace of biotechnology. And, quote, as of February 2020, Genentech employed 13,638 people. And finally is noted for, quote, its success with synthetic human insulin in 1978. Anyway, back to the flags. I do feel as though this flag has a lot of potential. I think perhaps it would be better if they just removed the lettering and simplified the helix to include less colors. Either way, I do think it would be a brilliant flag with just a little adjustment. Now, before I show you the redesigns, I just wanted to say a quick thing about the South San Francisco City logo. Because most unfortunately, I have to say, I think it's a bit of a mess. Before, I said the city flag was complex, but it's got nothing on this. Now, I'm not even going to try to get into the complex web of symbolism and confusion here, but just suffice it to say that it quite spectacularly fails all 5 rules. Number 1, keep it simple. Number 2, use meaningful symbolism. I'm sure there might be a lot of meaningful symbolism here, but it's so cluttered that I imagine it can be difficult for people to figure out what the symbolism is. Number 3, use 2 or 3 basic colors. Yellow, light blue, dark green, dark green. It's just a bit much. Number 4, no lettering or seals. It has the word City of San Francisco, California, not to mention the planes, trains, and automobiles. Number 5, be distinctive or be related. This really is the only one where it's like this, but you gotta admit, it's distinctive. All in all, I just wanted to bring that to your attention as a possible area of improvement. So with all that said, here's some related images that I was able to find that I think could be used as redesigns for the flag and logo. Number 1, I think this is a very nice logo that could possibly be adopted as the city logo or an element in a flag. Of course, you would need to be removing the lettering, but besides that, it's a perfectly fine symbol. Number 2, an interesting concept as adapted for a sign, but I am intrigued by the idea of an all-blue helix, which would make for a, as previously mentioned, more chromatically simplistic flag. Finally, number 3, I would like to humbly ask that the city do not adopt this as their flag, please. Now on to our next chronicle.
Sorry, wrong ribbon, brother.
San Diego, known for the San Diego International Airport being, quote, the single busiest one-lane airport in the world, the fact that it is, quote, illegal to shoot jackrabbits from the back of a streetcar there, and of course for the fact that in 1968, the third-party candidate got 14,572 votes, or 6.32%. It's quite sunny here, so for the rest of the video I'm going to be doing this. San Diego also has a notable flag, or at least notable enough to have its own Wikipedia article. That being said, so does Honda-Pritchard, apparently. This is the San Diego flag. As you probably know by now, we've got our work cut out for us. So let's get right into it. First, I will read you the entirety of its Wikipedia article. But article is a bit of an exaggeration. As Wikipedia put it, quote, it's a stub. So here it is. Quote, the flag of San Diego consists of 3 vertical bands colored left to right, dark red, white, and gold. The central white band carries the city's seal, which carries the words, quote, the City of San Diego, State of California, Semper Vigilance, which we'll talk about more when I get to rule number 4. The last of those 3 phrases is the city's official motto, Latin for, quote, ever vigilant. Under the seal is the number 1542, the year in which Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo first entered the San Diego Bay and claimed the area for the Spanish Empire, end quote. Quote, claim San Diego, because there totally wasn't anyone there before. Anyway, the flag base of a dark red, white, and gold stripe I think is quite nice, reminding me of Mexico's flag. But I think you might agree that maybe it could be improved. Let's apply the 5 rules to it. Numbers 1, 2, and 3, I believe it meets perfectly well, with its relatively simplistic design, meaningful symbolism in the colors and what they represent, and its use of only 4 basic colors, including the black lettering on the seal. Rule number 4 is the big one where I feel it most unfortunately falls short. For not only does it have a minute and complex seal, but on that seal, as it says in the Wikipedia stub, are featured the following words. quote, City of San Diego, State of California, Semper Vigilans, 1542. Which I think you'll agree might be difficult to read on a flag waving in the wind on top of a building. Which of course is the main reason the rule exists in the first place. Finally, for rule number 5, I think it is related, but maybe not necessarily distinctive, as 3 colored bars is sort of a common flag motif. Still, even with all of that, this flag definitely has a lot of potential. My suggestion might be to maybe remove the logo and replace it with the city flower of San Diego, the carnation, making something akin to the Mississippi flag, a great example of redesigned progress. This is a stylized version using assets I was able to find for my possible redesign for the San Diego flag. Anyway, I hope you can see that this flag could definitely be improved. Finally, these are some related images I was able to find that I think could be used as a redesign or just a slight reimagining for the flag. Number 1. I like this one, but it has been pointed out that it is similar to some other flags. This one's quite nice, but the bird is a little small. Remember the flag on top of a building waving in the wind? Number 3. I think this one is quite nice, but it is a complete redesign of the entire flag. The symbolism is as follows. Quote, the blue corner represents the ocean, which is a major part of the identity of the city of San Diego. The bright yellowish color represents the sand of the lovely beaches and harsh desert parts of San Diego. The green corner represents the more lush and plant-filled places in San Diego, which exist and are definitely there, trust me. Quote, the gold star represents us as a part of the USA and also as part of California, which is infamous for the gold rush, which led many people to come down here in the first place, end quote. Overall, I think it has really in-depth symbolism and is a fun idea. Number 4, this one is quite nice, but possibly could meet rule number 1 better. The symbolism is as follows. Quote, the blue represents the Pacific Ocean, rivers, bays, and sky that are synonymous with San Diego. The yellow gold represents the beaches, canyons, cliffs, and mesa that define our topography. The teal represents the land, while not abundantly green with architecture/plants, it's also fertile with ideas and innovation, biotech, education, information, technology, defense, etc. The anchor represents our history as a port city and the influence of the Navy, Marines, and other armed services to our economy. The 5-pointed star represents the 5 historical flags that fly over our city: Native, Spanish, Mexican, Californian, and American, end quote. Number 5. Finally, again, this is the one that I personally came up with. I think it's an okay design, and I like the idea of using the flower, and I hope someone else can maybe do more with it. I hope that if you take anything away from this video, it's that flag design should be an open discussion, that flags do matter, that cities should have flags so they can have a symbol that the public can get behind, for use in the celebration of the place that they live or in protest. And most importantly, that anyone can cook.
Anyone can cook.
I mean design flags. And if you care about the place that you live and would like to have a better or different or more representative flag, you can petition local officials for change or even personally design a better world for the future. And as always, thanks for watching.